What's up, everyone? Welcome to the same Phillies Sports History for August 24th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Saturday edition of the podcast. It does look like I got the sound issues from earlier this week taken care of. I might as well go right into it. This team is cooked. Absolutely cooked. I have no idea what they're doing. I mean, where to start? Taijuan Walker sucks. I know I've been saying he hasn't been terrible. Well, last night he took all of those not terribles, put them into one for one huge, just absolutely ridiculous performance. Dude's throwing meatballs, man. Absolute meatballs. And kudos to Kansas City for taking advantage of it. Offensively, they're terrible. This team, I know, Rob, they were hitting off the curveball machine, which brings me back to Gabe Kapler's time. But this team doesn't see pitches. They're not walking, striking out too much. Is it the hitting coach? I mean, at this point, I said it the other day, but what does the hitting coach do for a Major League Baseball team at this point? I don't know. Maybe firing Kevin Log sends a message and lights a fire under them, but I don't know what's going on. I absolutely don't. The lead is down to 5. They're behind 3 games for the top seed. They're tied with Milwaukee right now, but at least we hold the tiebreaker against them. Back when we were good, we beat them. Woohoo! So I don't know. Tonight, Ranger comes back. Maybe he can provide them a spark. I just don't know. At this point, I don't know. I came on here, went on a profanity-laced tirade. That didn't work. But I think I came up with something last night. And there's a saying, I don't know who said it, but the whole, if you believe it, you can achieve it. I'll get that out. If you believe it, you can achieve it. So I was wondering, maybe that's the way we got to go. We got to visualize what we want this team to do. And one of the guys that I've been tough on, and I think a lot of people have been, is Garrett Stubbs, due to the fact that he's just not good offensively, but he's a vibes guy. So maybe if we just envision what we want, this will help out. So I'm kind of envisioning now, kind of pretend here with me. It's the end of October, beginning of November. There's almost 500,000 to 1 million people standing out on the Parkway in front of the Art Museum steps. Phillies parade for the World Championship just ended. Garrett Stubbs comes up to the microphone. He's wearing a Budweiser box on his head, those stupid overalls, and he takes the microphone, starts giving his speech, and kind of summons his inner Jason Kelce, if you will. And this is kind of how I envision the speech going somewhat. So pretend I'm Garrett Stubbs for a second. And then you guys all doubted us. And it was everybody. Everybody said everything. Schwarber shouldn't lead off. Bryce panders too much. Aaron Nola ain't got it. Castellanos can't lay off the first pitch. Marsh can't hit lefties. Stott ain't got it. Rojas sucks. JT's too old. Alvarado can't get anyone out. Bone makes too many errors. Taijuan throws meatballs. Hoffman's lost it. Turner's inconsistent. Topper can't manage. Dombrowski can't pick talent. It's the whole damn team. Hungry dogs run faster is what Jason Kelce said. Well, this team wasn't hungry. All summer, we weren't hungry. It got bad. The fans turned on us. Y'all gave up. And that's okay. We deserved it. We needed it. Then, all of a sudden, we were starving. Then it turned around, and it reminds me of a song. So fuck the haters. I'm in the corner watching you kiss her. All right. So maybe, just maybe, if we envision that impassioned speech from Garrett Stubbs on the Art Museum steps, maybe that'll turn it around. I don't know. The sad part is the speech that I envision him giving, all of it is true. But here we are. Like I said, I've tried profanity-laced tirades. We've done this, we've done that. So maybe if you believe it, you can achieve it. So maybe if we believe that they'll be on the Art Museum steps celebrating the World Series championship, and again, picture Garrett Stubbs with the Budweiser box on his head, giving that impassioned speech, breaking the podium, and then the entire crowd, almost 1 million people, breaks into "I'm in the corner watching you kiss." I don't know. Maybe they need to bring the stupid song back. I don't know. But tonight, they lost the first game of the series, so now they got to try to win 2 in a row in Kansas City. Ranger, who knows what he's going to do. I got to be honest, though. I'm losing faith. But what we're going to do is, if you believe it, you can achieve it. Very similar to if you build it, they will come. If you believe it, you can achieve it. So let's believe that Stubbs is going to be up there in the overalls and the Budweiser box on his head, giving that speech, leading the entire crowd in Dancing on My Own. And we will be World Series champions. At this point, we have nothing else. Why not? If you believe it, you can achieve it. All right, so I apologize for the language there, but be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont at Twitter and TikTok. On Instagram at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Jimbo_Mont. Spread the word. Let's grow this thing. And remember, if you believe it, you can achieve it. And then just a reminder that the John Kruk watch party tomorrow at the Palladium has been postponed due to some family issues for John Kruk. More details on when that is going to be rescheduled once Philly Goat does that. And then check out my boys at the Clashing Conferences podcast. That's available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. I will be on their baseball podcast next week. It's not going to be brutal because I'm not going to go on and be nice about it. And who knows, maybe I'll break into Dancing on My Own. But I'll give you the details once that's ready to be posted. And then they're getting ready to kick off their football season next week as well. It's that time of year, but they're good guys over there, so go give them a shout and check them out. And then go to Philly Goat, back to school shopping. I don't know if you still want to buy Phillies gear or not, but they have it. But a whole line of Eagles stuff is out, so go check them out. PhillyGoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. That's PhillyGoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. All right, speaking of the Eagles, though. Final preseason game is today against Minnesota. I'm going to go down for a little bit just to take my son down, get him in the stadium, and have him walk around. Not expecting anybody to play. I know there are people on Twitter asking and wondering if Jahan Dotson is going to play. I highly, highly doubt it. That's just way too risky with Tanner McKee or Kenny Pickett, whoever they start, with him not knowing too much of the playbook yet. So I would almost rather not see him. But that's it. And then next stop is Brazil. Tuesday at 4 is when they have to have the rosters cut down to 53. And honestly, I don't really see many surprises. I think the only thing we might see is depending on how he makes a trade for an offensive lineman or safety help or something like that. But I think James Bradbury is the guy we had questions about. Looks like he's going to make the team and not start, but be a backup safety. So I don't really see any surprises on the horizon with who makes the team and who doesn't. The bigger question is going to be in Brazil, who starts, and we still have, maybe 10 days, 14 days before, somewhere or 13 days, a little less than 2 weeks, I think, before we find that out. But we'll be watching. Maybe there's some intrigue. I think they maybe should give Tanner McKee the first, let him start today and see what he can do. I mean, it can't hurt. But that's all we got for the Eagles at this point. It's just looking ahead, and we got Brazil and the Green Bay Packers on our minds. So let's do it. I mean, anything at this point to make us forget what the Phillies are doing, it's not going to hurt. But on this day, let's go back to 2013. And on this day, the Phillies lost to the Diamondbacks 12-7 in 18 innings. Chooch went 3 for 9. Yeah, Chooch had 9 at-bats in this game with a homer, a double, and 2 RBI. Darren Ruff and Cody Ashe and Roger Bernardina, remember that guy? Also all homered. And the game was scoreless, though, through the 10th through the 17th inning. This is back before the stupid ghost runner rule. And then the Diamondbacks exploded for 5 runs in the top of the 18th. The final box score: Phillies 7 runs on 13 hits. They only had 13 hits in 18 innings. Sound familiar? Something like I think this team might have 8 hits in 18 innings at this point. 3 hits the other night. Diamondbacks 12 runs on 22 hits. That's how you do it, but I don't know. But the most important part about this game, or the big takeaway, was that it lasted 7 hours and 6 minutes, and it broke the Phillies team record for the longest game time-wise. So imagine going to the game. I think it was like a 7:05 or 7:35 start, and then 7 hours. That's almost like a full day of work. So we're talking like 2 a.m. this game ended, and then you see the Phillies lose the way they did. The Major League record for longest game time-wise, if you were keeping score, is technically 8 hours and 6 minutes. That was the White Sox and the Brewers back in 1984. However, that spanned over 2 days. I guess there was an ordinance in Chicago or Milwaukee, wherever the game was played, that they couldn't start an inning after 1 a.m., so they had to pick it up the next day. I saw a lot of conflicting reports about the longest continuous game, so that's why I don't have that on hand. But the Phillies Diamondbacks 7 hours 6 minutes has to be up there for one continuous game. There's a lot of ridiculous times for double headers. But another interesting tidbit about this game: Phillies used 11 pitchers, and Roy Halladay was on the DL, was supposed to make a rehab start in Reading the next night. Well, because they used up all their pitchers and didn't have anybody to start, they canceled his rehab stint and rushed him back up. So he started the next day. He actually did well, and they won that game. But just an interesting thing, because I as soon as I read about this, I actually remember when all of that went down. And I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna hurt Roy Halladay. And this was sort of like the beginning of the end for his career anyway. But on this day in 2013, the Phillies lost to the Diamondbacks 12-7 in 18 innings. Chooch had 9 at-bats, but this set the Phillies team record for longest game time-wise, as it went 7 hours and 6 minutes. And I think that would be, people always talk about, oh, that's my hell, that's this, that's this. Watching this Phillies team the way they played yesterday with Taijuan Walker on the mound, that would be my hell. Watching this team for 7 hours and 6 minutes. And truthfully, back to them again. I'm going on a rant, trying to believe it and achieve it, and picture Stott up there giving the Hall of Fame or the parade speech. But Taijuan Walker should not be back in this rotation. I mean, I'd rather see Tyler Phillips. At least he's young and can do something. And Taijuan Walker was like, oh, I just wasn't good. No shit, you weren't good. You're not good. So I don't know what's going to happen. And then they have a bullpen game tomorrow. So this lead could be down to 3 by the end of the weekend, because I can't see the Nationals coming and beating the Braves at all this weekend. Unless they do something similar to what the Phillies did the other day. I don't know. But here we are. Finally today, our 20 questions in 20 days about the Eagles. Let's start with a recap of yesterday's question. I asked you, is Jalen Carter a superstar in the making? 88% of you said yes, he is. I tend to agree. I think this dude's going to be a stud and really have a monster year for the Eagles. Thank you, as always, for participating in the question of the day. We'll have another question here later in the show. But today we're going to look at Bryce Huff, and one of the Eagles' biggest offseason acquisitions. And honestly, one of the biggest question marks on this team defensively anyway. They signed him to that 3-year, $51 million contract from the Jets. Essentially, it was like a trade between you're swapping out Bryce Huff or Hassan Reddick for Bryce Huff. We know how that's playing out. So just in that alone, we'll take that. But he was a pass rush specialist in New York, and that's sort of the question is, can he play against the run? In the preseason, the game I saw the other day against Baltimore, or no, the last game was against the Patriots. He looked like he made a couple nice plays in the time he was there. So that was encouraging, especially since at the beginning of camp, and this is why we're going to either love or hate Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio said, he was like, he's not there yet at the beginning of camp. But to see him go out there, and he did make a couple nice plays stopping the run in New England. I think that was a good sign. He's also been going up against Lane Johnson in practice. So that's a good dude to be going up against and learning. He's one of the best. And I'm sure Lane, in all of his years and knowing sort of what the best pass rushers do and how they kind of play off, I'm sure he was able to give him some advice as well. It's a question mark, though. I think it's still going to be a risky play. However, I think and it goes back to what we've been talking about the past 2 days, all of these guys, I think, are super tied to each other. So we said Jordan Davis has the most pressure the other day because he's the guy that's really got to step up, eat up that space on the line. If he's doing that, it should allow Jalen Carter to eat. And if Jalen Carter is doing his thing and turning into the legit superstar that we all think he's going to be, that's going to open things up for Huff and allow him to make some plays. So if those two guys, Davis and Carter, are able to do what they do as interior linemen and take up blockers, it should allow Huff on rushing downs to be able to get a good sight line of what's going to happen, and then allow him maybe to eat and get some double-digit sacks as well. So they're all related, and I know it's starting to get sort of convoluted with if this guy does this, then this guy will do this, and this guy will do this. But I think that's where we are with until we know what Bryce Huff is. Now, I don't know in New York whether he was just the pass rush guy and they didn't have him in for rushing downs, or whether he couldn't do it. Either way, Fangio said he wasn't there yet at the beginning of camp. But what I saw against the Patriots, I doubt I'm going to see any of that today, which again is fine. I still think it could go either way. I think this is one, at least on the defense, this is my biggest concern, because if this dude comes in as a bust, I mean, you have Brandon Graham, who's a little bit older. You have Josh Sweat, who is okay, but if Bryce Huff can't do anything, they're going to be able to really focus the blocking scheme against Sweat. So a lot is going to ride on this guy's shoulder. I know there's a few people when we did the Jordan Davis, who has the most pressure. When we did that, a lot of comments came in, and people say, no, Jordan Davis doesn't have the pressure. It's Bryce Huff. And I think you're right. I think Davis, to me, has the most pressure on him, but Bryce Huff is right there because you signed the big contract and so much is going to be expected of you that I think it's go time. However, as I said, I think if Jordan Davis has a good year, that's going to lead to Jalen Carter having a great year. And if Jalen Carter has a great year, it should allow Bryce Huff to really get it done. But what do you think? Will Bryce Huff live up to the 3-year, $51 million contract? Let me know on the Back to the Future voice and text line, 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. My take, I certainly hope so. But I don't know. We'll see. But let me know what you think. 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get anything else Philly sports related off your chest. Want to vent about the Phillies? It's all fair game. Want to add on to Garrett Stubbs' Super Bowl World Series speech? Let me know what you see him saying. But like I said, I picture him going through the thing. It's the whole damn team. And then busting out into dancing on my own. But remember, if you believe it, you can achieve it. But will Bryce Huff achieve and live up to that contract? Let me know your thoughts on the Back to the Future voice and text line or any of my social media. On this day in 2013, Phillies lost to the D-backs 12-7 in the longest game time-wise in team history, 7 hours and 6 minutes. That just sounds brutal, especially with where that team was in 2013. Oh boy. But hopefully Eagles get out of the preseason game today unscathed, and then it's all eyes on Brazil. I cannot wait. The countdown has officially begun. We're winding down our days for the 20 questions in 20 days, so that means one thing. Football season is around the corner. I have a fantasy draft next weekend. It's the greatest time of the year. College football kicks off week 0. I have no idea how it's week 0, but that's where we're at. But real football starts today. Hopefully, Ranger can just bring some of the magic and just bring a calm to this. And this is the day. Hopefully, we'll do it the opposite way, because yelling and screaming and ranting didn't work. So let's just envision where we want to be. And if you believe it, you can achieve it. Go have yourselves a Saturday. Go Phillies. Let's just get a win. Let's just get a win. But enjoy your Saturday. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for August 24th, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery. And until next time, I'm dancing on my own.